They were kids, barely out of high school, thrown into hell. Mud, blood, chaos. Every day was a battle, not just with the enemy, but with fear. Some soldiers didn't make it past the first week. Others survived by a thread. How? Not guns, not luck, but instincts, grit, and a will to see another sunrise. Imagine this, you wake up in a trench. Rain pouring, feet soaked, body aching. Shells explode around you. Screams fill the air. Your buddy next to you, gone, just gone. You don't have time to mourn. You have to move. One step, then another. Every decision could mean life or death. Rations are scarce. Sometimes you eat what you can find. A can of beans. A piece of bread. A mouse, yes. Soldiers sometimes hunted tiny animals just to survive. Water is worse. You drink from puddles, streams, anything. Disease lurks in every sip, every bite. Yet you keep going. Hunger and thirst don't kill as fast as the enemy does. Sleep is a luxury. Sometimes you close your eyes for an hour, hiding in a shell crater. Every noise makes your heart jump. A branch snapping, a distant shout. Could be the enemy, or just the wind. Doesn't matter. You react the same way. Stay silent. Stay alive. Soldiers learned to move like shadows, silent, patient, invisible. They scavenged, stole, and prayed to survive another day. And then there was the fear of being caught alone. Many survived by splitting from units, moving alone at night, crawling through mud, past barbed wire, avoiding patrols. It was terrifying, but often it was the only way. Sometimes it was sheer luck. Finding a hidden bunker just before a bombing raid. A farmer giving a loaf of bread when you thought you'd starve. Moments like that kept men alive and sane. But survival was also mental. You had to block the horrors, block the screams, block the smell, block the endless grief. If you let it in, it would break you faster than any bullet. Soldiers wrote letters they never sent, held on to trinkets from home, a photo, a locket, a lucky coin. These little things reminded them of why they were still fighting. And sometimes survival meant sacrifice, covering a buddy while they ran, giving up your coat to a freezing comrade, watching others die while you somehow keep breathing. By the end, the ones who survived weren't the strongest, not the fastest, not the best shooters. They were the ones who adapted, who endured, who refused to give in to despair. Because in WWII, survival wasn't about glory. It was about waking up one more morning, one more day, and praying you'd see home again. The first morning in combat is something no one forgets. The ground smells of gunpowder and wet earth. Your body shakes even if you try to stay calm. You hear a faint whistle, a distant hum. Then, when a shell hits, the earth around you erupts in fire and smoke. You dive, cover your head, wait for what feels like an eternity. Then silence. You crawl out, your buddy gone. A hole in the ground where he once was, and still you have to move. Hunger gnaws at your stomach. Your boots are torn, your uniform soaked through. The radio is dead. You're alone. Every step is a calculation. One wrong move, and you die. Some soldiers survived by hunting small animals. A rabbit, a squirrel, even rats. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't safe. But it worked. You set traps. Watch for movement. Wait for the right moment. The smallest mistake, and you've just made yourself prey. Food is scarce. You ration every bite. A single piece of bread might last 2 days. Water from puddles tastes like mud, but you drink anyway. Every sip could bring illness. But thirst is faster. At night, soldiers learned to move like shadows. No moonlight, no sound. Crawling through mud, past barbed wire, past enemy patrols. Every heartbeat feels loud. Every step could be your last. Sometimes you hear voices, distant laughter. Enemy soldiers. You freeze. You hold your breath. You pray they don't see you. Hours feel like days. But moving is the only way to survive. The hardest enemy wasn't always the other soldiers. It was your mind. You see horrors every day. Your friends killed. Civilians torn apart. Bodies in the mud. Fires everywhere. And yet, you have to keep moving. Soldiers learned to block it out. They called it the shell of survival. Block out the screams. Block out the smells. Block out the grief. Because if it got to you, you'd die faster than bullets ever could. Letters from home. A photo of a loved one. A lucky coin. A piece of chocolate saved for months. These weren't luxuries. They were lifelines. They reminded soldiers why they were fighting, why they were still alive. Survival often meant sacrifice, covering a buddy while he ran, giving up your coat to someone freezing. Standing in the open while others crawled to safety, you watched men die, and somehow you survived. It wasn't luck. It wasn't skill. It was sheer will. Days bled into nights. Nights bled into days. Shells, gunfire, screams, rain, snow, mud, blood. You move, you hide. You fight. Every day the line between life and death blurred. Every decision was critical. Move left or right, crawl or run, eat the last bite of bread or save it for later. The soldiers who survived weren't the strongest, not the best shooters, not the fastest. They adapted, endured, refused to give in to despair. They learned to fight fatigue, hunger, fear. They learned patience, silence, shadows. They learned that survival was mental first, physical second, and then the day came. The day you made it home. You look at your hands, dirty, scarred, shaking. You hear laughter, smiles, families crying, hugging. You survived somehow against all odds. It wasn't glory that made it worth it. It wasn't medals or cheers or fame. It was waking up one more morning, one more day, and finally, seeing home again. WWII wasn't just a war. It was survival at its rawest. And the soldiers who came back, they didn't just fight the enemy. They fought hunger, fear, despair, and they won.